So hang on, well, fuck my comedy inspirations. You can hear that anywhere. Your housemate took his dick out. Is that what you're saying?
Oh
Like
no,
flashed you?
girl. Actually, funny enough, no, she just
Oh,
decided.
okay.
Again.
Just her, your housemate just flashed your tits. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, that's basically what happened there. Like, so she'd be glad to know she's featured on the fucking podcast, anyways.
And like, how close are you in this housemate? Like, because tit flashing level of friendship is a pretty,
Do you know what? Quarantine, you get to know people pretty quickly down here.
Absolutely. Man, I gotta go to Dublin. Fuck this. I'm living in Nova with my mum. I'm not getting no tits flashed at me.
Not with that attitude, Jesus. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. I'm your host, Connor Finn, and this is a show where I get to chat to the most Finteresting people that I know. This week, I was delighted to be joined by the hilarious Aaron McCann. Aaron is an Irish stand-up comedian, content creator and podcaster known for his quick-fire culty humour that has seen him reach a global audience with his hilarious viral videos online. We chatted all about Aaron finding his feet in comedy, travelling across the states with his sellout shows, performing for Tyler the Creator, getting booed off a stage in London, and his dreams of hosting Family Fortunes, all while I try to hold my nerve after getting flashed live on podcast. Aaron was such a lovely, generous guest having the show, and honestly, such a pleasure to interview. He has some of the wildest stories that I've ever heard so far, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. So, without further ado, please enjoy this latest episode of Finnterviews with the hilarious Aaron McCann. Well, welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. On the show this week, I'm delighted to have on the brilliant Aaron McCann. How's it going, Aaron?
What's happening, mate? This is a great name for a podcast, by the way. Interviews. It's fantastic.
I mean, that's what, like, I think you're like the third guest to say it. And honestly, like, I don't know why more people, like, maybe this should be like my pro but start of be like, first of all, you have to compliment me before we get into the podcast, just so that we're like an even playing field, because I can't be gassing up the guests all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's great because like even like Tim, my Dirt Civil podcast co-host, he used to have his Instagram name. It's now the Honest Online Coach because like he has a business to run and stuff. But when he was just Timmy G from Fitna, he had it as Timstagram, and I still mourn the loss of that Instagram name. I'm like, that is the best Instagram handle that ever existed.
And now there's somebody out there using it and they've no idea the power that they wield. Yeah.
I know. My favorite thing is like, do you ever see people that like write like DM like a celebrity,
yeah.
DM someone being like, here mate, can I have your handle? Because like, it's like someone's had an idea for a band, and the name's been taken by like a book club by like 4 women in Drumquin, and they're like, can we have this Instagram handle please for our band? And they're just like, nah, go fuck yourself.
Like the power that you wield with it. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember even for my one, like I'm like Connor for like 98 or whatever. I guess even I tried to update it recently to be like, oh, get some underscores, get a wee dot or whatever like this. No fucking way. Like even Finnterviews was taken. It's like I have to say podcast and all like this shit. Do you know what I mean? Like the boy just can't catch a break these days. I mean, pandemic again. I'm just trying to make it online here, and nobody's making it easy for us, really. Like.
Yeah, there's serious real estate in the Instagram handle game. Like if you can get in early. Hello?
Oh jeez, it just came up there. Your internet's unstable and I was going, shit.
Do you want to start again?
No, it's grander. Like, no, you're grand. Do you know what? It's literally because I'm actually down in Dublin at the moment. So it must like I'm chancing my arm between living with like 5 other housemates that we're all working from home now, as well as, you know what I mean? Fucking like, I'm sure Arlene has something to do with like the Zoom calls, like between like, north and south, like, but yeah, fuck that Brexit shit. We're just chance my arm as much as I can here, like.
How do you find Dublin?
Expensive as shit. But it's lovely to, you know what I mean, to change your Twitter to like where you currently based. Enjoying it to be in fairness now. Like it beats me, and I'm Richie from Armagh, like, and Yeah, it's there's a bit more to do, funny enough, than being like out in the country.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But like, yeah, as well.
Well, I suppose not at the minute because everything's shut down, but
Yeah, I didn't really think about that part whenever I came down here, but sure, we're just running with it. If anything, I'm just going off the clout that like I somehow am surviving down in Dublin. Like as well, when you go to a shop and somebody hears your accent, do you know what I mean? Never anywhere that I've ever been to has somebody greeted like a big Nordy accent with like such a nice accent. Other than whenever I come down here, I'm like, fucking alright, guys. Here's a wee ego boost for me. Like this is sick. Won't get any of this shit at home. Like.
but that's the hilarious thing is that everyone loves our accent except for us. Everyone loves it. And we're the most self-loathing country of all time. We're like, we hate our accent, we hate our celebrities, we hate it all. We're just so you know what I mean? We hate ourselves. And I feel like that makes us charming to everyone else.
You know what? Yeah, I never really thought about it that way. But like, yeah, hating yourself is really the biggest charmer that anybody can have. God, these disgruntled bastards. Gotta love them.
Yeah, because like a bunch of Americans would be like to me, they'd be like, oh my God, like you're so self-deprecating. Is that because you're like a comic? And I was like, no, it's because I'm from Northern Ireland.
I am a child of the seasport. Yeah. You just go off of one, like everybody's just riddled with fucking like post like dramatic, like what's it like what they call it, like inherent trauma or something like that.
Oh, there definitely has to be. That's what I think. That's like that ties into a bunch of shit. Like even our sense of humor. People talk about how dark the Northern Ireland specifically sense of humor is. I think it definitely, of course, it would tie into. You know what I mean? But I think that's great.
Exactly.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it, like, so might as well be these ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, how old are you? Like, fucking, like, you're in your 20s, right?
Nobody told. I'm like 15, man.
Oh, sweet. Well, this is like...
Yeah, this is completely illegal. No, I'm 22.
Chris Hansen comes out behind you now with like a plate of cookies. Yeah.
I just think a boy makes his way in Dublin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do a few podcasts, you suck a few dicks.
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
He works hard for the money. But here, first and foremost, I mean, speaking about comedy and all the rest of it, Aaron, maybe for the people that don't know you, who are they? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and like kind of your background, like what you're known for. Because obviously you're a funny guy, but like I wouldn't just say you're, comedian, because there's many other ventures. I mean, podcaster, content creator. What would you kind of like? What you're known for? Your kind of like background.
Honestly, I would say, yeah, it's pretty much stand up, and then everything else is just like. I enjoy doing them. I enjoy podcasts, and I enjoy like making skits here and there, but it's all to feed the machine of stand-up. It's like, yeah, come see me do stand-up, And stand-up comedian for some reason is this thing now where it's like, it's not enough to just be really funny on stage. It's like, oh, you got to have a podcast, you got to fucking edit videos, you got to be putting stuff on YouTube, you got to be in the fucking stocks, and you got to fucking, it's like, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
There's so many like facets to it now. Yeah. That I don't think that anybody now can like make a career of just being really good on stage.
Yeah, it's fucked. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, literally everything that you're doing, just being like, this is just so you guys can actually pay for the shows. Like the rest of the shit you motherfuckers in Spotify you're just getting for free. Come on, lads. Like, sign up to Patreon. Don't make me start OnlyFans. Like,
it's hilarious because like people like I've had a few meetings with like a couple of agents, and like it's never been like, it's the only thing where like you meet an agent and you're like, the first time I got a meet with an agent, I was like calling my mom being like, stop fucking peeling them spuds because we don't have to live like this anymore. I finally made it. This is it. Right? This is fucking it. And the guy essentially was like, what do you want? Have you got any TV show ideas, anything? And I'm like, no, I want to do stand-up.
Yeah.
What the fuck is, it's this thing where it's like, I feel like people just get really good at it so they can move on to the next thing. But like, I just want to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody's asking me like, yeah, so like, do you know what I mean? Family gowns. So like, Aaron, like, what's up with the next thing? Like, are you gonna get like a presenter next, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, are you gonna like be your own show? You're not still with the stand up, are you? Fuck off, mum, Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. Say, oh,
I actually
McCann,
really enjoy
dream
it.
offer. You're I know you've been working away at stand up for years and years and years, and you know you've literally put your self-confidence, you've drilled it down to where it's only like a little fragmentation, and you're still holding on to this wee dream you've got. But I think we finally got it. We want you to host Total Wipeout next year. And you're like, what the fuck is
You're like, I mean,
crazy?
yeah, yes, but like, come on, that's also kind of like somebody to kind of get a gig in Limelight already. Fuck's sake.
To be fair, I might host Total Wipeout. That might be fun. That might be pretty fun.
Do you know what I mean? Like, Total Wipeout. It's just when they like tally all like the fucking deaths over the last year. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you just get to host it and take the rip out of everyone. But like, I suppose you're kind of mentioned there. Obviously, comedy is like what you're known for, and like what you're obviously your passion is, and all these other kind of avenues have kind of came from this. But when did you like? I suppose I would initially know you for doing, you know, like Culture in America, those kind of videos of you going around doing the vox ups and streets. Like that's what I remember. Like even just like seeing you like on Facebook or like coming up on Twitter and stuff like this. But like when that's obviously not like where you just start. You're like, hi, I'll start in America, see how I end up. But like where did you first like get into comedy? Like was it always something that you'd always gravitated towards and had like a passion for, or like was there ever potentially like another path in mind? Like there's not another like life where you were going to be like a chemist, is there? Or like
No, I think most comedians get into doing stand up because they literally suck at everything else that they've ever done. And I also don't know if like I don't know a bunch of guys who like have that story that would sound good on Oprah or something, where it's like, you know, I was just watching Live at the Apollo at the age of 7 and just thought, oh, what a dream it would be to be on the stage in front of all the people. I said, no, most people like fell into this because they realized that they have a personality type where they can't sit in an office and do what they're fucking told. So like for me it was I fell into it totally by accident because I got asked to host my secondary school formal awards, and I remember initially turned it down, and it was just one of those things where it was like I never saw it in myself, but like other people had been like, we think you'd be good at this. Like you should do this, hosting this formal awards. And then it kind of made me go, all right, well, I'll see what they think is there. And I went and hosted it, and just remember like, you know, people talk about, you know, stand up being like an addiction where it's like, that's your first like hit of it when you're on stage and you get the laughs and stuff. And then from there, I was just like, well, I love this, like, but I'll probably never get to recreate this. This is a very, you know, this is a very, hopefully I'll never have to do my school formal awards ever again, you know? So, God, the image of that actually is making me queasy, but yeah, so I was just like, all right, that was a cool experience. And now we move on and maybe we look back fondly at that when we're like in our 70s or something. But then, unfortunately, I ended up going to a comedy club and I met Colin Geddes in Asda in Oma. And I'm pretty sure when I went up to him, I called him Barry, not ashamed of it. But I went up to him, was like, hey man, I'm really interested in getting involved in stand-up. Like, do you know how I could get involved? And he was just like, yeah, there's a local club in your town. You should for sure like get in contact with him. So I did. And then my first gig was supporting him at the same club, Daly's in Oma. So, and I've just been doing it ever since. I love it, you know? So it's just like, I think I'm very lucky to have found something that, you know, I enjoy doing and that I've been doing for so long now that there is opportunities to, you know, monetize it, you know? I don't think anyone gets into stand-up to make money, but I think that, you know, primary, it's always just the love of doing it. And then, and then you just kind of go, right, you know, I'm starting to sell tickets, I'm starting to get my name out there, but more like this actually could be a career, crazy enough.
I always do think it's funny as well. Like kind of some of the kind of comedian stuff that I chatted to beforehand. It's like it all like it kind of starts like that, like kind of like we're kind of chatting before this, like you know the like Irish mentality of the kind of like oh nobody like really wants to get too high up in their horse because everybody's being like, oh, you know your fucking station, that kind of way. And it's that kind of like tripping over being like, no, I'm fucking good at this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can actually go into this. And it's hilarious. Like, some of the ones as well have all kind of mentioned about, like, getting contact with, like, or, like, running into Colin guests, like, in some way. And he's managed to just pimp them out into this. I feel like he's the pimp for the comics of, like, Northern Ireland.
Oh, definitely. Because, like, I feel like the whole resurgence of stand-up in the past like decade, it can all be tied back to get us in some way. So
Yeah.
I absolutely think that, yeah.
So
I wouldn't tell him that too many times because
No.
he is the ego of Kanye West, but you know, I definitely do think it's true, and I tell him that a couple of times. You know.
So I mean, you were out there, you know, realized you had no other skills, and skill forming was your peak, and you just kind of ran with it from there. But I suppose like, as well, I think there's like a particular thing when like obviously people get their different kind of styles of stand up, whatever like this. I think a lot of people take a lot from their fucking like their hometowns and their upbringings. Like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of community that like grafts it into kind of like what weird shit that you're into today. Like, but like, I know, is there any like inspiration like behind your humor, your and comedy, like, or your content, like, because don't know, it ranges a wee bit. Like, you have like obviously the whole culture in America, like these kind of different like Stop the World podcast, stuff like this, but then you also, you know what I mean, you're able to like translate that into other things as well. I don't know if there's anybody that's like influenced you, or any, I know you've just been like, as you said, like it's just like fucking crack cocaine. As soon as you get up on the stage, you're being like, yeah, I want to be funny, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really get any of my comedy influences until I started doing comedy. So like the first like year and a half, I had no fucking idea what I was doing. Like, I shouldn't have done that near stage. And I remember
you're just doing crowd
like
work
I was
for
17,
like a year.
You know. I was 17 and I was like, you know, why is nobody taking me seriously? Like, I'm not getting booked at these clubs and whatnot. And now 26, I look back and I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to fucking listen to a 17-year-old. Like,
yeah,
like, have you spoke to a 17-year-old recently? You know what I mean?
A teenager's hot
draining.
Teenager's hot tech in the world. Yeah, well, like, I'll tell you something about my story in life. Like,
yeah, and they're going through like they're like they're too cool for their parents and they're embarrassed of their parents' phase, and
I'm still
they're listening to Limp Bizkit in their rooms, and yeah. My nephew asked me the other week. My nephew's like 18, right? And he turned to me the other week and asked if I was a frigid. And I was like, listen here, you eat two pube having cunt. Like, you think now you're fucking Billy Big Balls. I seen you be born. Never forget that. I seen you be born. Don't come around here slinging dick now because you blew out 18 candles in your cake. You piece of shit.
And then he turns around, yeah, but you didn't answer the question. You're like, enough of the fucking interrogation. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Gonna Twitter with everybody else my own age.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, there wasn't really anybody. It was, you kind of just like learned from it, like obviously getting up in those kind of situations and just kind of like grafting through it. Like, there was nothing like in particular, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, no.
Well, now it's like guys like, you know, Dave Chappelle is obviously the greatest of all time. That's my favorite comedian. Guys like Gerard Carmichael, guys like Bill Burr, Tom Segura, like Doug Stanhope, Daniel Sloss. I like comedians that like, I feel like I have like a bit of a switch in that. Are you okay? You having a stroke or what is that?
So, just to put in reference as well where I am at the situation, I was genuinely listening there and I looked out my window. That's why like I'm kind of getting blind by the light, and I was like, God, there's a bit of shade just came up there. One of my housemates was very nicely just trying to entertain me while I was trying to do a fucking podcast by flashing it. So sorry there. I mean, God, I wish.
So hang on, well, fuck my comedy inspirations. You can hear that anywhere. Your housemate took his dick out. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no. Girl, actually, funny enough. No, she just decided.
Okay.
Again.
Your housemate just flashed your tits. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah, that's basically what happened there. Like, so she'd be glad to know she's featuring on the fucking podcast anyways.
And like, how close are you in this housemate? Like, because tit flashing level of friendship is a pretty, you know.
Do you know what? Quarantine, you get to know people pretty quickly down here.
Absolutely. Man, I gotta go to Dublin. Fuck this. I'm living in a homo with my mum. I'm not getting no tits flashed at me.
Not with that attitude, Jesus. But sorry. Anyway, I'm getting tits flashed from me. You're getting flashed at Dave Chappelle. And I mean, obviously, do you know, sorry, where the fuck did I go with this interview now? Like, Jesus Christ.
Let's talk more in detail about the tits. Let's just try that.
So what do we want? Like, kind of like circumference, or what? Like how do I paint a picture for the listeners? Like, oh Jesus, no, but like, I mean, yeah, obviously that's where you kind of came from, this like background, but like, as well, like, what the fuck are I talking about?
You're so flustered right now. It's hilarious. You probably thought, like, yeah, I'll have this. You probably were telling your housemates, like, yeah, I'm really going in with this interview podcast and type thing. And, like, that literally as you're trying to, like, get your shit going, your housemates are like, well, here's what I think of your interview podcast. Just get some tits out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this has turned into a very different Zoom call. Like,
yeah, I'm so jealous.
But I suppose, yeah, like, we've kind of gone on from there, but like, before this, maybe I'll just fucking skip on to the next one, because honestly, I don't even know where I'm talking anymore.
It's okay.
I just need a hot second. But like, I suppose, like, before this, like, maybe career in comedy, performing, all the rest of it, you were kind of saying that like you knew that like this was the only thing that like you were going to do, or like kind of once you got that hook of it, obviously doing school formal, you're like, fucking, this is a life for me. But like, before this, did you ever have any like character building, I suppose, jobs that like, you know, maybe informed the humor or like kind of content that you put out today? I find that usually everybody has like kind of grown up some shitty jobs that really like to humble them enough, or like get them to a point where they're kind of like, never gonna fucking do that in my life again.
Yeah, I'm moving to London in July. I'll be getting a shitty job, like literally. It's in my future, you know.
So this isn't like character building. You're like, this is character progression, really. Like...
No, I am currently building said character, and I think it's good. You can like tell when you're interacting with somebody who's never worked a job they've hated. You know, they're harmless people. They're genuinely harmless people, but like, if you've ever watched someone if you take someone to a restaurant, right, and you see someone like pipe up or like just act like a dick, you're like, I know for a fact you've never served a table in your life, and it shows.
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, I've actually had some like guests on this, we won't mention it, but like once I've kind of put this like question to before as well. I'm like, yeah, like, did you ever do anything? Because I'm like, I'd always bring up, sure, I was fucking working in the strawberry fields when I was a wee boy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, thought my step up was working fucking Domino's. Little did I know, I was like, not even making enough to fucking earn a pint an hour. Like, here's me at like 16. Like, that's all I had in my mind. But like, ever since then, like, as soon as I got any kind of office job, I'm like, this is it, lads. This is it. Chant to these ones that have like, oh yeah, how'd you get to where you are? I suppose there must have been some struggle. I know. I feel like I expect everybody else to have had some, you know, little bit of kind of like struggle in life, and they're like, no, like I'm just like a full national radio presenter now. But like, yeah, like, it's funny just how it happened. You're like, I'm trying not to judge, but like, you bastard.
But I honestly don't think like it'll show in some like aspect of their character, because like even people that are way too sensitive online, like the most quiet people, be talking the biggest amount of shit on Twitter, you know? And like, they're talking about like, you know, using this term, or like, you know, saying this word, or this could be insensitive 15 years later. And it's like, I know for a fact you've never heard a group of chefs talk. Because if you did, you would understand that like, people, like, a lot of it is like coping too, you know, like people are in jobs they fucking hate, and they're like, the humor therefore is like just wild as shit, because it keeps their day like turning over, you know.
Just inappropriate as fuck. Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah. But like yourself, like, have you? I suppose I'm guessing you've worked in a kitchen then.
Yeah, I waited. I worked in the Spar. I worked in B&M Bargains. Love a good, franchise shop.
Where the corporate conglomerates can really just batter the shit out of you.
Love
Yeah.
it. Absolutely love it.
Thrive.
I'm a great person on the tills. I will say that. Stacking shelves, not so much. I get complacent. I get kind of well. I need to have the tasks there, like one customer after the other, just going by. I need that like consistency. Otherwise, I'll just like think too much and then be like, "What the fuck am I doing here? Like, let's just get out of here." And then I quit. That's what usually happens. Then I quit. I have an existential crisis and I quit. But no, like I think that's really important. Like even there you'll read about Will Smith made his son Jaden, who like is just the wildest mind of all time. Like he thinks he's a fucking table or something. He thinks he's like a mahogany table from IKEA. And then everyone's like, "Oh, hey, he's just quirky," and it's like, no, this child's cooked the goose. But like I think that it's really important. I think it's important as well to have lived like a life before anything creative wise. Because like Ricky Gervais, I always cite him as an example, is like that guy didn't get famous till he was like 40. And again, it shows because he's the most down to earth, human being. He doesn't get too excited by anything. He doesn't like take the internet too seriously, which I think is a big thing nowadays as well. And he's just like, and it's because of the fact that the guy spent, like 20 years of his life working in like fucking jobs where he was like, yeah, this is shit, but this is what I do. And that's it.
Yeah, I feel like there's like, I don't know, I kind of always just put to the fact of like, do you know what I mean? I feel like you always get chucked in these situations and it's not until like, you know what I mean? You're just kind of like, right, I just need some fucking like money to do me over for a while. And you're like, whatever, not really worried about it. But it's not until you kind of reflect back on some things and then you're kind of go like, Jesus Christ, it's like, fucking hell, how did I like, like, there's one story that I usually tell when I'm drunk and it's whenever I used to be a waiter as well for ages, but found out I was in there for 3 years. It didn't have the cap on to realize I'm horrendous at waitering, like really bad at waitering. Great with people, don't get me wrong, but it's like I felt bad for charging people for food, so I'd be like try to like just like do around the tills and stuff and be like, Connor, why were you losing money? And I was being like, oh, I just don't understand, guys. I'm like not made for the service industry. But like, I mean, I feel like there's some of the situations as well as just, getting some real world fucking like views around yourself. You just get chucked in some weird fucking ones. Like I had to serve, this was like, imagine like a golf kind of club, big restaurant thing, right? Sunday, end of a big Sunday carvery. I was all wiping up, and next thing, like, I'll never forget it because I remember coming back home and what Mary once asked me, it's like, what'd you get up to today? And it wasn't until it happened that I was like, oh, yeah, no, just after I was cleaning up, there was a group of about 30 deaf people came in that nobody warned me about, and I had to serve them all and try to like understand it. And the one that was actually leading them around was a bit late, and so I had to like try to move around. But when I tried to point her down to where I'd like got the rest of the crowd to go, she walked into a window. Turned out she was partially blind, so it was literally the blind fucking leading the deaf. It was like some of those things you can't write, and I won't tell you around the rest of it because it gets a bit like too intense, and I feel like I get a little bit PTSD. Like, do you know what I mean? You see me fucking freaking out when I seen somebody flashing at me, try to get me to tell this story without a few pints, and I'm like, and this is what happened. But I suppose, do you know what I mean? There's some kind of fucking stories that you're like, I feel like just dealing with general public as well for comedians, it kind of puts you, gives you, I suppose, a lot of kind of stamina to go into this field where you're literally being thrown up on stage and be like, right, fucking survive, or like people are going to like slag shit at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think too, when you do something like waitering, it exposes you to the fact that a lot of people are cunts, and your life is essentially like that's a lesson. That's a life lesson that you don't learn from school. Is like there are some people, and genuinely from the moment they're born to whenever they kick it, are just programmed to be a cunt, and that's how they live their life. That's how they get their kicks. You get your kicks from doing these interviews and stuff. I get my kicks from being on stage. Some people get their kicks from being a cunt, and they're really good at it.
And if you've never experienced somebody like that, you are the cunt, like.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wanna know if you've went through life and you haven't been exposed to a cunt, like, where do you live? I want to live there. It sounds like paradise, you know. But then it makes you grateful then for like people who are genuinely like. I feel like with stand up, you meet so many people, like you meet so many fucking people, and I feel like all my friends who are comedians are very good judges of character because they've met so many people and like came across so many personality types that I'm like, oh yeah, like for sure, if I was going out with someone, I would want her to meet all my friends in comedy first so they can give me the hard truth about who she is. Because, you know, sometimes you got the rose-tinted glasses on.
Yeah.
And
maybe she has a lazy eye. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you just see somebody pointed out. Exactly.
I mean, a lazy eye is a bit harsh. I was thinking more, you know, is she manipulative? Is she, you know, is she maybe gaslighting a little bit? And you're just like, yeah, I mean, a lazy eye is just, that's what makes my dick soft. And you know what, fair pity for being so open.
Yeah, I did kind of like consciously hear what I just heard back as soon as I said it, and it's like a little second silence. I feel like that's why I'll never be able to do stand up, and that's why I have to talk to people on the internet, because like, Jesus Christ, you sort of see me just squirm back and be like, oh, fucked up, didn't I? Connor never stands behind any of the words that he says. No. That's why he records them and chucks them online. But yeah, no, that's absolutely it. Like, I feel like you're put in those situations where, I mean, you've no other choice but to be like, you're confronted with so many personalities. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say the same, but like, I mean, I don't even know if my friendship groups are trustworthy enough. If I'm a good judge of character for like who I surround myself with, let alone that them judge who should be around. Like,
well, so far from the window I've seen into your life, you surround yourself with nudists. So far, like.
Yeah, don't tell mom though. But I suppose, as well as doing like, you know, with everything that's going on, obviously, stand-up is a fucking horrendous time for anybody in the entertainment sector, and anything that is live events, going around, just in general, like enjoying themselves outside, except for nudists, they're having a great time. But what maybe like does like an average day, I don't know if there is anything, or if this is a random question because it's lockdown and you're like, clearly there isn't any kind of average day that I'm up to because I'm chatting to you right now, but like, is there kind of like a day-to-day thing that you go from, because like even from doing all the podcasts and like even like the different content that you put out, like you haven't seemed to have like slowed down at all over this last year. It seems to have been pretty just like flinging stuff out like constantly, which I just like I can't relate with.
In a way, I feel like the internet is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like, so you know, I this is the thing with Instagram, is that you can literally create what people perceive you as. So, like, say for example, if I took a notion today, right, and I was like, I want people to think of me as a guy who reads. You know, I can go Monday, upload a picture of a fucking book with like 4 pages in and a coffee beside it, right?
Yeah.
And then like just put some random bullshit caption like you know, reading time or self-care or something. And I swear to God, the next time that you see people, they'll be like, oh, so I see you're doing a bit of reading. You know what I mean? No, I just took a picture of it. I didn't read a fucking page, you know? So,
I'm illiterate. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just think, so whilst I appreciate that, I haven't like been crazy, but like I have the podcast every week with Tim, and like I enjoy doing that. But at the end of the day, if you break it down into what it is, it's me catching up with a friend. So there's no real admin there or like anything like that. Although what I will say is we have started like we're trying to basically do like a clothing brand. So we've put out like Dirt Civil clothing, and like we've done like a hoodie and it's sold, and we're working on like designs and shit like that. So there is definitely things that I don't think I would have paid attention to if it hadn't been locked down. But then also as well. Like I wanna fucking make vlogs in the future. I wanna, you know, put more content out there. I feel like one thing that lockdown made me think about was the fact that I feel like before maybe last year, I was very like overly sensitive to like negative feedback or criticism. And now I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm like, I genuinely don't care. Like I'm making this stuff because I want to make it.
Yeah.
And I get to meet cool people from doing it. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy like doing it. So why would I let some fucking dickhead rob me from that? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they don't like it, you know? So I think I think it's definitely allowed me to have some introspection and sort of make a game plan for when things are opening back up again. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I suppose like as well, like from like obviously this like your kind of plans and stuff like this, like has there been like any major like standout moments that I suppose like obviously those are your plans for the future, but like anything that's kind of came from the past, like has there been any kind of moments that like from kind of getting into this like whole thing of like, you know, comedy stand up, like that you maybe never kind of thought could have happened otherwise? Like do you find that like looking back that you're already being like, oh Jesus Christ, can't believe I did that? Like I mean maybe the kind of turnaround that you've done, or like I know Maya Jama kind of like, you know, get in touch with you on Twitter. Like I don't know.
I think for me still like the coolest moment that's happened, and I've been very lucky and I've been very fortunate to have like a few real things where I'm like, fuck, I'll remember this forever. You know what I mean? And like the Ulster Hall with my mates, that was crazy. Like getting to do a tour and like coming to all these places over here and like meeting people who are there for my show. Like that's insane. And it's still, it doesn't compute with me necessarily every single time. So when I'm doing it, I'm like, the whole time I'm just like, this is fucking great. This is crazy. I'm very grateful for everything that I get to do. And I really appreciate like the small shit as well. And I think I used to get too wrapped up in like goals and like where I wanted to be. But at the end of the day, I enjoy the process of it. I enjoy right now. I enjoy the fact that I'm spending my afternoon chatting to you over Zoom about, you know, the shit that I've been doing essentially, you know, it's fun. It's allowed me to do it. So, but I think my favorite moment definitely is when I managed to get Tyler the Creator to come watch me do stand up. That was like craziest shit that's ever happened. And that also instilled that completely instilled self-confidence in myself, because I was like, well, if I can make that happen, if I can be a boy from Oma, County Tyrone, who takes out a bank loan to fuck off LA in the hopes that rapper Tyler the Creator will come watch him perform, and it happens, how the fuck can you tell me that I can't do something? You know what I mean? And I always thank him for that. I always thank him for that, because it's a case of something that, you know, it didn't seem like a big deal for him changed my whole outlook on life. So that's why I think if you're in a position where, you know, people, if you're in a position where, you know, there's so many people that are influenced by you, then you should always take the time out, or, you know, every so often, obviously you can't fucking go to Tyler the Creator, can't go to fucking my nephew's flute recital. Do you know what I mean? But
he hasn't responded to my DM for the podcast. You're like, fucking hell, Tyler. Like, what the fuck you at? Like, you're at home anyway. Fucking wind your neck in.
But yeah, it's just I just think like that to me is, if you're asking coolest moment, that there personally for me, I don't know if that can be topped.
Yeah, I suppose like where can you go from here? I mean, like like after Tyler the Creator, like I mean you're pretty much kind of like lads, like, but like so it's just all been downhill from there, really, is what you're saying. Like, yeah, I mean the bar's that low, you're on this fucking podcast, like, so I mean things really aren't looking that fucking far up for you. But like, has there even been like any major like I suppose that probably is like your best, you know, gig that you've ever done, but like has there been even like any gigs that like you you know, surprised you, like how good they were. Because I always kind of find it funny whenever it's like, you know, like you said, doing like big, huge arena gigs, like, do you know what I mean? Like Ulster Hall and stuff like this. Like, and then it's those ones stick out in the mind for like I was shitting myself and I can't believe I did it. But then it's like, people talk about like doing some random one for like a camogie club in like Ballyvogie or something like that. And they're kind of being like, I just fucking killed it, like, lads.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple, like, you find yourself, especially at the start, you know, you'll say yes to anything because you're like, I just want the stage time. And you just end up like doing the most random fucking like parts of the country where you're like, do people actually like live here? Like, there's running water in this area, you know? And but they end up being fucking great because, you know, nothing really comes out there and shit, and then the whole town gets behind it. Like, we did a perfect example, right? We did a gig in Raffin Island, right? And it was fucking. Actually, hang on, that was shit. That was.
I was about to be like, first and foremost, like, who books for a gig and be like, yeah, like the kids are really looking, you know, like they don't want to come into the mainland. You just have to go out to them. Like, what's
the gig itself was not great, but it's the friends we made along the way that counts. And I had a great time in Rathmon Island. I love Rathmon Island.
Yeah, we're actually 90% of this podcast is all from Rathmon Island, so yeah, you don't want to be cancelling those bastards off. They'll like be cutting, you know, off the Wi-Fi and everything. Yeah,
dude, the puffin section. Come on,
come on now.
Come on.
Don't fuck with puffins.
Puffins and one pub and like no neighbors. I think they've got it sussed. They know what the crack is.
Yeah, who needs to be in Dublin getting flashed while you're doing a podcast? Honestly, you know what I mean? World's your oyster. But I suppose, like, maybe this leads quite nicely into, like, the next kind of one that I was going to ask, like, have there been any kind of, like, horror stories, I suppose, that, like, came from being in this, like, industry, which, like, I mean, maybe one of them is that's, like, similar to kind of, like, myself, where all you need is, like, somebody be like, oh, you can't, like, venues close, and you're like, right, what the fuck happened to like our life and our job, like, because it's so reliant on that. But have there been any like major horror stories other than, you know, the Raffin Island gig? Well, let that one go. That like kind of came from doing this kind of like career that you maybe didn't think, like, you haven't had anybody famous that you've loved come up to you and be like, you're a piece of shit. Like Tyler Creator was like, it's great he came to a show, and then he told me that he hated me.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, dude, I watched that video like quite recently, because I was drunk and it was 2 a.m. and I was like, let me take a look at when life was pretty sweet around here, you know, and like watched it, and ooh, dude, the material is rough, dude, and like the comment section is so nice. It's like, what the fuck, this kid deserved way more. This is hilarious, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I got exactly what was deserved for the material that I was doing. I deserved the tumbleweed. Yeah, like, I don't know, horror stories from any particular gigs.
I mean, have you ever been like booked for something and you've been like, why am I in the middle of a restaurant doing a stand-up gig? Like, do you know what I mean? Or like, I mean, christenings or funerals. I know a DJ that literally has on his website that'll do christenings, communions, and funerals. So like,
I mean, I would like a DJ at my funeral. I think that's pretty cool. You know, like say like, all right, guys. First off, it's ham sandwiches, and then we're gonna get like, I don't know, like one of them shine DJs. It's what he would have wanted, you know.
Yeah. We're gonna play bits and pieces. Here we go. Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of bits and pieces, after this, the cremation ceremony will be happening.
So enjoy your finger food in here for the next bit, and there's tea and Marys afterwards. Yeah. Well, I suppose that's probably a good side that like nothing's come to mind first and foremost. Do you know what I mean? Like, I suppose that's kind of like that's probably the best case scenario if you haven't really had anything that's been too fucking horrendous that you're not instantly going, yeah, man, I've had quite a fucking few horror stories now.
I mean, I've had plenty of shitty gigs, like plenty, but like none that like it was like a particular like weird
Yeah.
environment or anything. I've been booed off stage. You know what I mean?
Really?
So, oh yeah, I got booed off stage. I got booed off stage at the Comedy Store in London. They have a thing called the King Gong Show,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you're just like set up to fail, dude. It's a fucking bunch of hyenas, like just a bunch of pink-faced Brexit voting cunts, and you're like up there, and they're like encouraged to heckle the whole time. They're like encouraged to like be vocally involved with the show. So here I am, like 2 years deep into it, and I get like heckled by a stag do. And I can't remember what I said. I do believe a famine joke was used. But yeah, and then I just got booed, and I was like, "Well, fuck this place, then," you know. but like, I think now I would actually like to do it again and see how it fared out, because I was so young at the time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but I suppose like, yeah. I mean, if I like just can't imagine like, you know, being in those situations where you're just being like, do you know what I mean? Try to do your best, and then just in an environment where people are actively just being like, go fuck yourself, like, you know
yeah,
I mean? Like I get that enough from home anyway. That's why I fucking moved out. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I suppose as well, you kind of touched on it a wee bit beforehand there, and like, but like, I suppose, are there any like big kind of goals that like you want to kind of do? I know you said like vlog and stuff like this, but is there any kind of like major like, you know, fucking bucket list things that you still want to take off that you haven't yet? That I suppose, because for me, looking at it, I'm kind of like, do you know what I mean? You're like everything that you've done quite far. Anybody, as you said, on the outside looking in, is being like, "Fuck, that looks sick." But for yourself, you just want to be able to like keep doing the stuff, like, and keep doing stand up. Or is there? I mean, total wipeout. We already mentioned it. Might as well fucking say it.
No, dude. If I was to actually like just kind of clock out and be like, all right, you know, I'm gonna make now my retirement money from this. I've been very vocal about this, you know, and I'm hoping that the law of attraction can work its wonder in this. But I want to be the host of Family Fortunes. That's what I want. That's what I want.
I mean, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
I want to be the guy that says our survey says, and I want it all. I want all that shit. I want it all.
Mate, I set your sights high, but like, come on, geez, within reach.
But to be serious, my actual goals are way more outrageous than that. I think, like,
oh, go on.
Like, honestly, like, I think people are kidding themselves in this field if they don't say that they want to have a Netflix special. And I'm like, I want to have a Netflix special. I want to do Live at the Apollo. I want to fucking, and not even like to me, it's like if you do those things, then, you know, if I could just do online shit and sell out wherever I wanted to go, then I would be like, all right, well then, yeah, fuck those things. But like, I've seen people that have their whole career made off the fact that they have one Netflix special. And I'm like, just by doing this one thing, this person now gets to spend the rest of their days doing the thing that they love to do. Now, obviously, there's other avenues to go down.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, I think fuck it, why not? Take a swing, go for it all. Why the fuck not? I think the Northern Ireland comedy scene is like massively slept on. Like massively slept on. We have so many really good comedians over here, and I feel like in the next 5 years is going to be very interesting. I feel like.
Fair enough. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, what a step up from like, I want to like host Family Fortunes to be like, I want to fucking terminate this whole I want to own it all. But that's just me spitballing. But like, to be truthfully, I'm not like, I don't like
make my life narrative around any of
Yeah.
those things. I'm just like,
Yeah.
if they come to me, fantastic, and
Yeah.
I'll work at a rate where I'm like, I feel like maybe it could be achievable at some stage. But at the same time, it's like, if you don't get any of these things, then you don't like measure your self-worth on it, like I enjoy right now. Like I'm happy right now, so I don't,
you don't have to convince me. It's okay. It's no, I'm really happy.
I could like, as long as I can keep doing, as long as I can keep doing the thing, it's like, fuck it, that's the main shit.
Yeah, exactly. And here, I'm very conscious just of the time that's almost been an hour with you, and I always feel like keeping people over the hour. But just before we go, I wondered if you play a very quick word association game with me. So throughout this, I was trying to like note down like little words, whatever like this. Now, do you know what? It's nothing, it's just things I've been writing down, like they may or may not mean anything. But
are you trying to get me cancelled here?
Absolutely, yep. I mean, you can only go up once you hit rock bottom. So like, we're close enough to the ground. I might as well just pull you underneath. But basically, I've just kind of written down some things because, funny enough, I actually do try to do some research before I get my guess.
Nice.
But yeah, I know, shock horror. But just before we go, I was wondering, whatever, I've just kind of got a list of words. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever just happening. Able to go with that? Are you up for playing it?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're like, fuck, all right. None of them are too bad, but that's where, okay. But right, so we'll go as whatever comes. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, but we'll just kick things off with nice easy one. Oma.
Jam.
My jama.
Right.
Stop the world.
Let me off.
That's happy you did that one. America. Oh, come on. Really?
Zero small talk.
Zero small talk.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in the opposite end, Belfast.
The best. Hang on. I'm very bad at articulating on the spot. Sometimes this is why this game is like my nightmare.
And I'm having a great
but I'm enjoying it though. It's the best, like.
It's a word association. Don't worry about it. Nobody from Belfast is going to cancel you.
No, it's the best humor for like a single city. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's got its own branded thing altogether.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Buckfast.
Fortified wine tonic.
Robbie McShane.
Legend. And also underrated. Very underrated.
Armagh.
Marketplace Theatre and whatever that restaurant is opposite it. It's delicious.
And finally, Finnterviews. Why are you laughing? I don't trust what you're about to say. What you were going to say there, mate.
Is this little part of this game to like get me in the flow of like saying nice things, and then you're like, and finally, my own podcast.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I got you to say my hometown, so I'm like, I've got to use my podcast as well. I just run out of things to say. I mean, you can leave it blank if you want.
No, I would say fantastic host. You're very, very good at this.
Here, I'll take it anyways, and if not, I'll just edit it out and say something that you used earlier to beef myself up. But here,
nice.
Aaron, Jenny, I said this at the start of the podcast, but like, thank you, Jenny, for, I mean, coming on to this. I realised that I'm literally still just some wee kid, like, DM people into be like, you want to fucking chat to me? And especially when it's kind of like last minute, or people that like, you enjoy their content, enjoy your humour, that you're like, I really actually want to chat this person. Like, it kind of makes like do this podcast worthwhile, because I know it's great kind of putting this bits together, but like, I mean, it kind of just drives me a bit forward more as well when people actually do get back and they're like, yeah, I'll chat to you, mate. So no, Jenny, thank you so much for coming on. For if anybody wants to keep up with the stuff that you're doing, and then the rare occasion that somebody has found you through me, like, I don't know, if there's any kind of nudists out there or any kind of like voyeurs that like to, you know, flash in the windows, where can they get in touch and where can they follow you? What's the best places to find you?
Go to my Instagram, McCann Comedy, and my YouTube, just Aaron McCann.
Aaron McCann. Sweet. Well, here, sir, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. And if your day has anything else from this, just enjoy that you got to witness me just getting flashed and you know, lose my shit in the podcast.
That was a highlight. That was
a highlight. Yeah, I mean, my highlight as well. Now I just got to go upstairs and be like, do you want, like how do I handle this? But here, have a good one then. Anyways, mate. All right.
You too, mate. Thanks a million. Keep doing this.
All right. Cheers. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Finnterviews. Do remember to support the podcast by giving us a like, share, subscribe, and a follow on whatever listening platform you're on. And yeah, if you want to get in touch and let me know who you would like to hear on the podcast next, you can also find me on socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's Finnterviews, at FinterviewsPod, at FinterviewsPodcast. You'll find me somewhere if you type in Finnterviews online. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in again. I'll chat to you later. Bye.